Welcome to Career Talk. I'm Catherine. I'm here with Kathy and Ashley, who are senior project managers at NGU Sports Lighting. How are you doing tonight?
We're doing great. We're ready to finish up and close out this project and take some light levels on the field behind us.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
Well, we are in sports lighting, so we go and take measurements of fields, and then we apply a lighting discipline to them, and we make sure that there's a certain number of foot candles on the fields. On this one, it's an infield measurement and an outfield measurement, and we're the ones that will do the engineering on the poles and the cross arms and the light heads. A lot of people think it's just no engineering at all. It's just a pole with some lights on it, but there's actually lots of engineering behind it. Wouldn't you say, Ashley? Lots of engineering?
A lot of engineering. How many lights are up there right now on this job?
I think we were at 178 lights.
So every single one of them is individual up there, and there's a uniformity ratio we have to meet on the field, foot candle levels and all that stuff. So someone has to design every detail of that so that it bounces off the buildings, it clears all of the different walls and such. So all of that is designed on our end.
Did you need any special training or degree or certification to be in this?
I think, Ashley, you could probably answer that with your engineering background.
So I think you can kind of do it from a lot of these things you fall into. For me, I'm an engineer, and what comes into handy kind of for me is just understanding the science behind the poles, and there's a lot of different distribution weight type stuff that comes into play with poles, especially where we're from down in Florida. We have to meet hurricane codes, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. So understanding that is important, but lighting design is one of those things that I think you can have a niche for. It's kind of like graphic design, just learning the tools and learning the programs and just understanding conceptually in your head what's going on. And if you get into the right training and the right CAD programming even can help you in that. So, there's a lot of opportunities to go and do CAD programming in the trades, and it's used in any type of construction, anything. And that's really just a powerful tool, is learning CAD. You learn CAD, you can do everything.
Wow. So is building like the lighting for the stadium up north easier than down in like Florida?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a lot of different things to consider.
Yeah, a lot of different things. The poles here, we've got 2 that are at 140 feet, I think 2 at 110, and maybe 2 at 120 feet. We structurally build those poles for 90-mile-per-hour winds, because here in Wisconsin, you're kind of in the middle of the country, But down in Florida, they've got, coastline. It's a peninsula, right? So you've got coastline all the way around it, and you've got Cat 4 and Cat 5 hurricanes to make sure those structures are still standing. And we've actually had hurricanes and tornadoes to come through where we have lighting poles, and the only thing standing after a hurricane or tornado would be our poles.
Wow.
So that's happened a couple times. So probably easier in the Midwest and in these 90-mile-per-hour than on a coastline, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
Are there any requirements because it's so cold up here compared to down there?
There's requirements from the lighting standpoint. Kind of the people who we work with are our partners for the lighting, Ephesus Sports Lighting. Those LED lights are designed for specific temperatures. So if they're not made for cold weather, they'll die. So there's a lot of design and a lot of testing that goes into that to kind of make sure that those lights are going to work in all weather. So there's a lot going on there. And then of course you have to deal with, when we're doing the poles and all that stuff, they consider snow, they consider all sorts of things. So
they'll consider a inch of icing on the poles, because they know how much that weighs.
Oh.
So yes, cold weather is definitely something that we
Wow,
consider.
there's a lot to consider. So how did you end up doing sports lighting? Did you start from like high school, or did you, because I heard you guys just end up in it somehow.
I started in sports lighting 20 years ago. I have an English degree from High Point University. It's a liberal arts school in High Point, North Carolina. And I was a single mom at 20 years old and friends with a gentleman who was in sports lighting. And I needed benefits because I had a little baby, so I needed health and medical benefits. And he's like, come and work for me. I'll teach you everything you need to know about sports lighting. And that was 20 plus years ago, and he did. He took me under his wing. Still in that time frame, I was able to graduate from college and then go on into sports lighting. But I've worked with 3 of the major sports lighting companies, and I just kept kind of climbing the ladder a little bit each time I would move to another sports lighting company. But
yeah, and I guess it kind of can show that you can do different things. I have an engineering background. I went to school for engineering, materials engineering. So
at
it
Clemson
really,
University.
Yep, Clemson University.
Go Tigers.
So I started as a product engineer, designing lights for indoor commercial applications, and kind of worked my way up in that regard, and just did a lot of engineering application type things and worked a project manager, and then I fell into sports lighting. So
When you guys were in high school, what were you thinking of doing as your career?
We were just talking about this, Catherine. So when I was young, like 8 or 9, all I wanted to do was be a nurse. When I was 6 years old, my mom took me and she's like, if it's that whole, if you don't cry when you get your vaccinations, like I'll go get you ice cream. She bought me a whole nurse's outfit, like the little white nurse's outfit with the nurse's hat, like the old timey nurse's hat and everything. And I didn't cry, and I got ice cream, and I'm like, that's what I want to be. I want to be a nurse. But I didn't even go into medicine. I didn't do anything. So it just shows you that we change our minds, 100 times between the time that we're 6 and the time we actually, graduate from high school and go on to college.
I don't have as fun of a story. Math has always been my thing. So I knew that was my strength. And, mom and dad were like, go do something in college. It's going to make you money when you come out. So I went into engineering and I love it. But, engineering, you can do so many things. It's an awesome field because you really can come out of there and just kind of do anything in life. Like it's very much an encouraged field because you can do so many things. And as I said, like Kat, I mean, even for engineering from that standpoint, you learn that and it gives you so many doors. So it's awesome to do. You go learn that and it's gonna open the doors. It's a big important thing. Learn the basics of electricity, all those kinds of things. It's gonna take you far. So
we were here when you were installing the light poles. Can you walk us through like the process of how that happens?
So there's 6 poles on this minor league job here, and this one was an interesting job because below the ground, what we call subsurface or down in the earth, we know kind of what's down there already because we take soil borings. So we go and we dig a hole in the ground and we take that soil, that boring, and we analyze what's in the earth. Okay, so we did that and it looked like it was going to be an okay job. But then when we actually came to put the poles, to drill down and put the poles into the ground, we hit oil. Wow. Oil, not the good kind of oil. Not the oil that you get rich and go to Beverly, which you're way too young for that. But the type of oil that costs you money to get it off the job site because it's bad oil. And we kept hitting huge blocks of concrete where there were existing buildings that were on this land. Wow. Evidently, this property that Miss Hendricks purchased, it's been a lot of things. It's had a lot of lives. And now we hope that, it's forever a minor league baseball stadium. But it was hard work getting those 6 poles into the ground. But we made it through, and as you see, they're all standing, and they're going to be standing, and the lights are shining brightly.
So can you explain kind of how you get them into the ground and how you get them to stand up and stay up?
So there's 2 main types of galvanized steel poles. There's a direct embedded and there's anchor bolts. So if you would go and look at these are anchor bolts. Based on those soil borings that I told you about, we have an engineer that says in order for that pole to stand up straight and erect like that, you need to drill down 14 feet and you need to go out 40 inches. And you need to put a cage, it's like a rebar cage in there, and that supports the pole, and then you put concrete around it. These poles have those anchor bolts, and there must be 16 or 18 bolts that actually fasten the pole into it. So you've got a plate on the bottom of the pole that marries up to a base plate, and you've got all these huge bolts that go all the way around. And that pole's not going to go anywhere. But those are called anchor base style or anchor bolt poles. It's one of the most common used poles all through the United States for lots of different applications, but we use it a lot for sports lighting.
So earlier you guys were talking about how there's a lot of fancy things that go into the lights and that you'd be setting that up tomorrow. Can you kind of talk about what you'll be doing tomorrow with it?
So each one of those light fixtures is like a mini computer. It's got its own computer processor in it. Not only does it give out light, but it's controllable, and because it's like a mini computer, we can tell it to do all different things. So we can tell it to sparkle, we can tell it to blink, we have a function called paparazzi, which, you know, TikTok, y'all know about, like paparazzi lights and stuff. So tomorrow we'll be finishing the commissioning of every one of those little computers that are up there, and we'll be able to set scenes. So we'll be able to say, hey, all those lights go into paparazzi mode. Hey, all those lights go into sparkle mode. We can even drill it down to just one light if we want to, or one pole. So the controllability is crazy good. And then Rgba, that stands for red, green, blue, and amber. So we've got one light fixture, we've got several light fixtures on a bunch of the poles that'll do different colors, and then it'll mix colors. So you'll mix a red with a white, and what color does that make, Catherine? Pink. So for like October, for breast cancer awareness, we can turn this whole field pink.
Oh, wow.
So just fun stuff like that. But we can mix colors and make it any color you want.
So are you limited to stadiums, or have you worked on any other projects?
So we do all sorts of things. We do stadiums, we do arenas, so basketball, softball, football, hockey, you name it, we do it. Parks and rec. So anything sports is our territory, I guess you could call it.
So do you guys travel a lot with your profession?
We do travel. Kathy and I are the two project managers for NGU, and so we go out and we do the commissioning. Sometimes we do project kickoffs on site, depending on if the project kind of calls for that. Meet our stakeholders. I'm a project manager, Kathy's a project manager, so your stakeholders are whoever's involved, right? You want everyone in communication. So sometimes it requires being here more often, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the stakeholder and what their preferences are. But we always come out for commissioning and closeout to make sure that we're meeting what we need to meet. So this is a minor league. We have requirements based on minor league, and so we come out here and we do the light levels, and we basically say, all right, the project is ready to be handed off and it's good to go. So we travel for all those things all over the country.
So when you got into the profession of stadium lights, was there any like goal that you had in mind of certain stadiums you wanted to work in, or a certain area in the country that you wanted to work in?
The first company that I worked for, they were the official lighting of NASCAR. So I went all around with that company lighting up racetracks. So I was able to go to all the racetracks east of the Mississippi River. So any of those tracks that have lights, I kind of was a part of. I guess my favorite was Daytona. It's a NASCAR track down there, and they wanted to give something back to all their employees at that time, so they put little what we call mirror trans around the inside of the track, and I have a plaque with my name on it in Daytona Motor Speedway. So that was probably one of my most memorable ones, is just going around with this sports lighting company doing NASCAR tracks. So how about you? Any goals? You probably have already lit your goal because she's a huge hockey fan.
Yes.
NHL.
I love NHL. I live in Tampa, so it's a good time right now. If you guys know NHL, it's a big thing, but Ephesus, it's our partner. They lit the arena in Tampa, so it's kind of one of our big prides and joys that we get to like do those kinds of things, and it's fun. I love indoor. I think because of my background in indoor commercial lighting, I can relate a little bit more to indoor. Kathy has 20 plus years of experience in outdoors, so it's kind of what's neat is we get to work off of each other and kind of mix our brains and figure things out from there.
But if it's indoor, I want her to do it.
And the codes are different, all that kind of stuff.
So in the sports field and construction field, I know it's very male dominated. Do you guys feel like you're breaking through some sort of barrier in this career?
Good question, Catherine. I mean, we were just talking about this earlier.
We were.
I mean, yeah, if you look around at construction sites, it's all dudes, right? It's all guys. So for you to be interviewing two girls, two ladies that are in sports lighting and construction, I do think it's a big thing. I've never felt limited. I've never felt like there were guys saying you can't do the job as good as we can because, you know, we're guys and you're girls. There's some limitations. I think the only limitation would be strength, because those light fixtures weigh 96 pounds. They do come in 2 parts, but you know, sometimes guys they just have the build to be able to lift those type of heavy things. But I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I've really never felt much limitations because I'm a woman in this industry.
Yeah, I think the big thing is to be confident and just use your strengths. Like, focus on your strengths. Like, guys have things they're good at, the girls have things they're good at, and it's funny that it kind of plays out that way. Like, you know, the joke is always that the girls are better at organizing. We're both project managers, and you really see that. You know, and just, you know, it's one of those things. Like, you just have to be confident. Confidence goes a long way, and if you don't, you know, like, try and build respect. And I think it's a big thing is respect the guys. Don't expect them to respect you, but build the respect between you. You know, if you ask questions, it tends to build that relationship, and someone that can be not nice to you will change that perspective because they start to realize you're really wanting to learn, and you just have to know who you're working with, and it's going to be like that in any industry. Just really trying to learn and just have confidence, build your confidence, and show that you can do what you're doing.
Kind of building off everything you're saying, do you have any like specific advice to young girls who would be interested in being in this field?
I mean, an engineering degree is great to get, a communications degree, a specific trade in electrical. You can start out with like your journeyman card and just learn electrical type things. If you do enjoy sports, there's a bunch of different things you can read. There's called the North America Illuminating Engineering Society. It's the NAIES, and there's all certain types of, like for these minor leagues, like it'll say what the infield has to be lit to, what the outfield has to be lit to. So all your standards, just, you know, learn your standards and, you know, try to equip yourself as much as you can. Set yourself apart just because these niche jobs, they're fun.
Yeah,
they're fun.
You can learn so much of this stuff. I mean, at a young age, you know, you can learn electricity, show interest in the sciences and the math. You know, that's really where I think you can kind of really set yourself apart. Is like if you go into those, you can do so many things with them at young ages. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do, but obviously the sciences and math if you learn those when you're young and you really kind of focus on those, you can go to get a 2-year degree and start doing your electrical stuff. And I mean, that can, as I said, it can take you far. It's just don't set limits on yourself. That's the big thing.
So if someone was interested in doing what you do you have any suggestions on how they should get started, like in internships or job shadowings?
I mean,
I would say more from a college level. There's internships available. You know, Kathy and I met actually at a company prior to this, and we had a ton of people who were interns under us, and kind of got to have a really good group of people, and it was fun to kind of watch how each of our careers have developed because we've all gone completely different ways. Even though we were all in the same field working for the same company, we all do completely different things now, and it's kind of cool. But what we did get to build is that networking group that you know, that's really what an internship does, I think, more than anything, is it makes you kind of realize what is your strength, like what are your strengths, whether you're going to go into true, like, you know, as I said, I did engineering. I was a product engineer, so I could have gone into the manufacturing side, which I did plenty of, but my strength is really applications, and that's kind of what played into my project management side of things. So it's really, the best part about internships is you really get to learn, where do I want to focus, and you can kind of do that through your career. Or through college. You know, you can take classes in project management as an industrial engineer, and you can go in that way. You can do operations, you can do all sorts of things. So internships are so important, and it's neat to see where so many people have grown from those internships early and just be successful in a very young age.
Thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed talking to you. I can tell that you both love what you do.
Thank you, Catherine. I think you did a great job at this interview, and you know, I guess our never give up is what we would tell you and any of your friends. Just never give up.
Be confident and strong.
Thank you all out there for watching. For more information, contact NGU Sports Lighting or CareerTek.